Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you very much for joining me here today. We're going to take a look here at Solve, which is an interesting one based on the way that just pumped up here today by a very large percent. We're going to take a look at that. And just know if you're new to the channel, I'm not a financial advisor. I just have over 15 years of trading experience. My goal is to help you become more of an effective trader, which is partly the reason why I actually have a trading community. Link in the description below. That is CryptoCache Premium. Check that out in your own time. But what's really awesome about that is I actually send out signals for every single trade that I take, and I do average about 80-85% success rate. So regardless of that fact, I wanted to go ahead and talk about Bitcoin first, because obviously you don't want to invest in any altcoins before you look at Bitcoin. It's kind of the foundation and stable, so to speak. So let's just take a quick look here. And I want to kind of preface and let you know that obviously we had the exchange traded fund here today that likely caused the price to increase. So instead of buying the rumor, selling the news, it was pretty much the inverse here in that sense where the rumor and the news both increased, right? So that's good. That basically shows that Bitcoin is here to play. It's also absorbing a lot of market capitalization right now, which is the reason why we don't see altcoins pumping for the most part. Obviously, this one here is too as well for Solve, but generally speaking, we're seeing a lot less frequency in coins taking off, especially more so large market cap coins. Therefore, just want to kind of state that we are at a point right now where in this resistance channel, right? So previous all-time high is this very top line that is effectively what 64,985. So you can pretty much just say 65,000 is a round number. And then this support resistance channel here, basically the candlestick closed above this line, so it's now considered a support. But bear in mind that was a major resistance level for quite some time, right at 63,600. So roughly 63.6 to 65,000 is this resistance channel. Now I say resistance channel because it hasn't truly broken its all-time high yet. So there's that. But furthermore, we also have this state of potential exhaustion, right? So let's take a quick look here. We can see a 9 on TD sequential. So anytime we see a 9 on TD sequential, there's a common theme that applies where the price will retrace afterwards. Okay, so just keep this in mind. If we see back here, look, one went all the way up through to a 9 and it went sideways for some time, but it retraced back down for 3 days in a row, close to support. Therefore, if we were to see some consolidation, it might consolidate around 63,600 as a rough estimate, or maybe even lower, right around what 61.5, or possibly even the support level here at about 60,300. There's a few different scenarios here. We need to wait a little longer to see that play out, but I just want to bring that to your attention, let you know, because I'm getting a lot of questions like, hey, is it going to keep pumping? Well, the technical analysis tells us it shouldn't continue, but I wouldn't be surprised with the market or the media attention it's getting that it'll just continue to ramp up. It's one or the other. One is going to happen before the other. Obviously, that's how it always works. All right, moving on to Solve. Take a look here. Wow. I hope you didn't FOMO in. That looks like it's going to probably retrace pretty significantly. Let's take a look here, first of all, though, at the one-day chart. Now, taking a look here, let's go ahead and mark some resistance levels. And keep in mind, resistance levels are based on where the one-day candlestick closes, not necessarily the all-time high. Granted, this is definitely a resistance level, right? We'll get there eventually, perhaps. But generally speaking, you want to mark where the candlestick actually closes because it doesn't matter how high or low it went in one day. What matters most is where it kind of averages itself out, right? So in a one-day trading period, the resistance level here for this coin is about 45 cents. Today's high hits somewhere close to that. We'll look at Fibonacci and kind of get an idea of the reason why it went there, but generally speaking, it looks like we hit about 40 cents here today. Let's take a look at the moving averages. Probably going to be null and void, but we're well above both, so that's all good. So ideally, the price will close above that, and it'll be considered a support level. Keep this in mind, though. Every time it pumps up like this, it'll either retrace and or commonly get into a position where the price will effectively go sideways for a short amount of time. But look at every time it pumps up that hard, the day after is a red day. Okay. Now, granted, this candlestick just opened, right? So I think the timing is kind of off. I feel like it's going to retrace further. Be very surprised if the price continues to go sideways right here, but you never know. Coins surprise you all the time. It just happens. All right, so we don't need to worry about the RSI and MACD. That really has no bearing here, based on the simple fact that it's just so exaggerated that we don't need to worry about that. Same with the moving averages, really. So what we really should do here, for the most part, is just quickly gain some support and resistance levels, because there's not much data to really go off of on the previous, the one-day chart. So we want to kind of see what we're looking at here. So simply put, we've got quite a few little areas, of course. Now, I think the one that's the most reliable in my experience is 0.618. In other words, at this point, right around 27 cents, we can go ahead and mark that. I think the price is probably going to average out right around there. That could work to be a support level. We'll see how this happens in the next 24 hours. But if we lose that, then we'll probably likely see some type of retracement here, right? Somewhere down to about 50% essentially. 0.5. So that'd be about 23 to 27 is the range that we're looking at. So my guess is we'll see the price kind of consolidate in that range. Now keep this in mind though, if you look at its history, and history doesn't always repeat itself, but it often does, if that makes sense. I would say it's more likely you're going to see patterns continue moving forward. That's why I love trading coins that are more established. Like new ICOs I don't care for as much, just based on the fact that there's very little data. But looking at this one here, you can kind of tell that it has a history of ramping up really hard, and the day after it comes right back down. And what we can see here, right here, the average is out about 50%. This one obviously down to the lower 20%, and the same here as well. So if history repeats itself, we have a 2 out of 3 chance that the price will come all the way back down to somewhere in the range of about 15 to 20 cents. So I know it's kind of a large range, and that's kind of a difficult prediction to swallow or to understand, right? To want to be able to hear, especially if you FOMO'd in up here. But there is a strong likelihood it'll probably continue to retrace. But I would say more better case scenario, we'll see the price average out here somewhere between 23 and 27 cents. And if all goes well, it'll stabilize right in that range, kind of consolidate, and then continue to increase from there. Okay. So that's kind of how we're looking at there. Obviously, we can kind of tell that's where we're at for the moment. Let's go ahead and see if we can look at a 1 hour chart and just quickly identify if there's any more. It's not really telling us much. This must have happened in a short amount of time. Yeah, look at that. That's a pretty messy 15-minute candlestick. All right, yeah, so again, it's trying to pump, it's trying to go further, but I can assure you that we're probably going to see the price come back down. So just keep that in mind. Let's I would say be careful, be cautious. That's really my motto, of course, is to be patient. When you see a price like this increase, don't jump in, don't try to get in on the hype, the fear of missing out. It's not ideal. What's ideal is to wait for support and resistance levels to establish themselves and to buy the dip when it occurs. Traditionally, any type of increase of this magnitude, this size in that short amount of time, you'll see the retracement occur about 50% or greater of its original starting point. So this one effectively just say started down here, because that's today. Yeah, so this is in 1 day here we saw this whole movement. Therefore, if we see right here from this point, the starting point right here, we're going to be able to expect the price to probably average out somewhere right around here, this halfway point. Okay, so I'm speculating we're going to see a support and resistance zone here between 23 and 27 cents. But we'll see here in some time. But in other words, my prediction for this coin isn't that it's going to blast off to space. I think it's going to probably consolidate or stay in the range that it's in, plus or minus a few cents. But I don't think we should expect it to come up to just say 45 cents or higher. I think it's going to get stopped out if it were to try to break its all-time high. And I think it's got a long ways to go, because this, you look at every single occurrence, it's rare for it to come to level itself out about halfway. And I think we're being generous thinking it's going to stay around 50%. All right, so I'm just want to kind of bring this to your attention so you understand to be careful. No pun intended, be careful, Solve.Care, right? And make sure that you understand that it's something that you want to be mindful of, right? So if you're in a position right now, consider adding a stop loss in case the price continues to break down lower than that halfway point. And then obviously, if the price continues to increase, don't be afraid or bashful to take your profits, especially if you got in somewhere down the range of 4 to 5, 10 cents even. You're up 2.5 to 3x right now. Try not to be greedy. I mean, the reality of this coin going much higher is very low, right? So why don't we actually take a quick look at that? Here's what the probability is, just as a rough estimate, right? We'll just go ahead and pull this up. This is roughly the probability of a best case scenario. Okay, so best case scenario is for it to get to its previous all-time high of about 74 cents, right? Now that's all well and good, but the likelihood of that is pretty low considering how much movement we've seen in such a short amount of time. Okay, in my experience, I can assure you that the likelihood of this continuing up is extremely, extremely low. I think we're going to start seeing some red candles starting to form in a downward fashion here, because every single increase that you see that goes up like this, it has to do one of these. That's almost inevitable. Good healthy bull run will do one of these, right? We want to see a staircase pattern, and this can't do that right now. It's going to have to consolidate. It's too big for its britches right now, if that makes sense. So whomever pumped it up and dumped it down is essentially causing the price to get funny on us, and that's just the way it goes. All right, so enough rambling. I hope you understand what I'm getting at here. Try not to dive into something like this. And thank you to my patrons for bringing this to my attention, and I hope you found benefit here, of course, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next video if you're new to the channel. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good one.